portion of the candidate and panelist interview. We are having, this portion will be Trustee, Clark County School District, District F. And we have 2 candidates here at this time. And first of all, just kind of want to remind everyone, we're going to kind of stay within our time limit. We're going to start over here with Georgia Sod, but before we start, we have each of our candidates take a minute and a half and give your name and any information you'd like to share with the panelists from our candidates. And we'll start with Carolyn Edwards, Trustee Edwards.
Thank you very much, Trustee Young. My name is Carolyn Edwards. I'm currently a school board member. I'm serving in my 2nd term, and so I have filed and am running for my final term as a trustee for the Clark County School District. I've lived in Nevada for 22 years, in the same house, the same phone number, and in District F all of that time. I am interested in moving the reforms that we've started in the Clark County School District under Dwight Jones forward under our current superintendent, Pat Skorkowski. I think we have some great strategic imperatives in place that will continue to focus very strongly on student achievement and make sure that our students are successful and productive members of our community when they graduate.
Thank you very much, Trustee Edwards. Now we will go with Ralph Krauss, please.
Hi, my name is Ralph Krauss. I've been a teacher here in CCSD and an employee for CCSD for 9 years. I've been a passionate teacher, an active elementary school teacher, and I'm a proud teacher. I'm originally from downriver Detroit, Michigan, and I thank you all for allowing us to be here, and those of you who've served in our military, thank you very much for your service.
Okay, thank you very much, Ralph Krauss. And now we're going to go ahead and start, and we'll start this end with the judge, Judge George Assad.
Thank you, Dr. Young, and thank you both for being here and running for office. Just so you know where I'm coming from, I didn't speak a word of English until I started 1st grade. I'm an immigrant right off the boat, the proverbial boat, and somehow, some way, I made it through college, law school, and here I am. So just so you know where I'm coming from with these questions, I think you were both here for the last series. I would just like a for or an against answer to the following questions. Common Core.
I support Common Core.
Mr. Krauss?
Against.
The education initiative, so-called gross receipts tax.
Against.
The Ethics Commission has advised the trustees that we're not allowed to take a position on the initiative.
Okay. School vouchers.
I'm against school vouchers.
For school vouchers.
English learners being taught English first before they're mainstreamed into the normal classes.
I think you need to do a combination of
For or
things.
against? That's a ballot initiative question.
For.
And breaking up the school district.
I have no opposition to breaking up the school district.
For it.
And ROTC on school campuses.
And as many as we can get them.
Absolutely. For.
And decertifying the school teachers union.
I believe in the right to bargain, and I believe that the union has to come to the table.
I believe that they have the right to bargain as well, and I believe that if it proves to be beneficial for students at the end of the day, then I am against that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judge Assad. We're now moving with Mr. Blanchard, please.
First, I want to thank both of you guys for coming here. I know it's a daunting process at times, but it's a very important process. But having said that, and understanding Ms. Edwards having to abstain on the education initiative, I'll go to my secondary question, which basically is, should school boards, school teachers, anybody connected with the Clark County School District be involved in forwarding any kind of initiative or tax on the public that will benefit themselves or their district.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Blanchard.
Ladies first, or I don't understand can I answer? Okay, well, I think that in no way that we should have district employees, whether they be at the very top or at the very bottom, campaigning under any circumstances on school grounds or with school technology or school resources.
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Edwards, please.
Well, I'm a little puzzled because I'm not sure that was your question. So if I understand your question correctly, should trustees or school board members or employees be able to campaign for or against a specific initiative?
Yes, but initiative that's going to benefit themselves. In other words,
No, we're not allowed to do that.
Thank you very much, Trustee Edwards. And thank you, Mr. Blanchard. We'll now move to Dr. Dupre, please.
Yes, Common Core, are you for, against, and why?
So I support Common Core, but I believe it's a beginning place to start, that we need to raise the bar of academic achievement in the state of Nevada, and our standards were low, frankly, and this is raising those standards. I'm not sure it does enough to raise our standards, and as a state, we can do more than that. Common Core is not a federal initiative. It was originated by the governors of every state who came together and said, as governors, we think we should have some standards that we meet across all states. So it was a state-driven initiative. It's not a federal initiative. And I sit on the Education Commission of the states, and so I know this to be true.
Thank you very much, Trustee.
I believe that the Common Core is here. However, I know that we can amend up to a certain percentage to make it more apt, more applicable to our local community and the needs of our local students. I don't think that we should just implement the whole thing as is. I don't think that will be beneficial financially, and I don't think it will be beneficial academically for our students. And I think that what we can do is look at amending it and look at adapting it the best we can to our students, because as it is right now, we can't just pull out of it. We're already in too deep as is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krauss. And now moving to Mr. Baca, please.
Thank you both for being here today. My question's to Ms. Edwards or Trustee Edwards. In your career, has there been a time when there's been a topic or a policy that you've been against, and it would go against the grain for you to represent your side? Can you point to a time when that may have happened, and what were the results? Does that make sense?
So an issue that went against
The grain, the popular grain of maybe an issue came up that within the trustees that had a vote and you're against it. Is there a specific example you can give us, and what were the results of the actions that you took?
So I can tell you that I was the lone no vote on building a second gym in Moapa Valley. I was the lone no vote on moving forward with the Edison schools for a third contract, when I didn't think that they were producing good student achievement. So yes, there are a number of times when I've been the lone no vote. I was on the lone no vote on President Craner being president.
And what were the results?
Well,
Microphone, please.
I lost on every one of those issues because I was the lone no vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Edwards. Mr. Krauss, please.
Any issue as far as being a trustee, because that's what I kind of got from that. Do you mean?
Well, the question was from Ms.
Just-
Edwards.
Yeah, that's what because I'm not
So
a
that-
trustee.
okay, so-
I think maybe as a school teacher, I went ahead. Maybe just with all the polling issues, I've been pushing a lot more lessons, trying to build emotional intelligences for our students so that they understand what empathy and sympathy are. And I guess that would be one of the closest things I could say as of in recent time that I've done. That's not really on any standards. But at the end of the day, we're all here to do what's best for students. We're not here to do what's best for ourselves. And I think that's what we all need to focus on, is how does this benefit students and what is it going to cost?
Thank you very much, Mr. Krauss. Ms. Green, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. So going back to the subject of IEPs, I asked the other trustees their thoughts. So my son has an IEP, and my frustration is I feel like there's a disconnect between the people designing the IEPs, clicking the drop-down boxes, and then the people that are actually enforcing them. Number one, do you feel like they're realistic? In my case, my son scored very high in reading, but the classes are combined for reading and writing. So they took the novels away because his writing skills were low. My argument is, why are we creating a further handicap by taking the reading away to improve the writing by lowering the expectations? And then number two, how realistic is it to ask a teacher to report daily to a parent? I'm getting frustrated because I'm expecting this, but yet as a teacher, is that really realistic, and how can we fix this?
I can tell you right now, as a classroom teacher, as far as IEP students, that is realistic. We have an internet account, Interact, that we can use at the very end of our day or during our prep hour and make it part of our job to contact the parent and inform them of what's going on. I think what we need to do is giving parents, much like yourselves, more of a voice at the policy and procedure making level of the school board in order to better benefit our students and their academic achievement.
Thank you, Mr. Krauss. Trustee Edwards, please.
Thank you. So I have a son who had an IEP all the way through until 10th, 11th grade when he got a 504. So one of the things that I know as a parent is that you have to be a really strong advocate for your IEP student. And I'm assuming that you are. And that isn't easy. And I came here from a school system that refused to acknowledge that he had any disabilities. He has 3. And that was Fairfax County. So it's a district with a good reputation who absolutely refused to do anything for my son. When I came here, I was ready to fight like crazy. I was like a mama cat, you know. And so this school district did right by my son, and he has graduated from college. But you're correct that it is sometimes a battle, and I don't think it should be as much of a battle as it is. I think also that your expectation to hear from the teacher, maybe not every single day, but certainly on a weekly basis, certainly several times a week if necessary, depends on what your child's issues are. But it's true that we have some teachers in the district who do not understand what a special needs child is. And when my son went into middle school and he was in all honors classes, I had a teacher say to me, why is he in my honors class if he has an IEP? Really? So are there things we can do to improve? Absolutely. Should we be doing those things? Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Trustee Edwards. And we're now moving to Mr. Fox, please.
Hello. We're last in so many areas of education, our kids in the nation, and something obviously has to be done for them, for their future, for moving forward, because the status quo, whatever that has been, doesn't work. It hasn't worked. So with that in mind, we need a fresh approach. We need new ideas. We need new outlooks. And I'm curious, I don't want to sound offensive, but there's a generation from education and from your time in teaching and in administration, there's a gap. So I'm curious what the different views and how you can approach those new fresh ideas for our students, for their future, how you can achieve that if you were to maintain your seat or if you were to get it.
I'll have the last question first.
Sure. Okay. Trustee Edwards, thank you.
So, I don't know what his views are, and so I'll just tell you what I think. First of all, I will tell you we're not last in everything. We're last in funding. We're last in a lot of the factors that contribute towards our chance for success, some of which is in our control and some of which is not. We are actually 37th, I believe, in achievement. So while we get almost the least amount of funding of any school district in the nation, we actually are achieving at 37th, which is pretty good bang for our buck. We're also in the top third for growing our students, meaning that they're moving faster up the achievement scale. And so those are some things we're doing right. We need to continue to do more of those things so that we move faster, even faster. So our graduation rate is very low, and we need to work on that. But we need to start from the very first child we get in kindergarten. At the same time, we have to recognize that some of our students come to us at 10th grade. We haven't seen them until 10th grade. And when we get them at 10th grade, we need to be addressing what their needs are. So we need to be evaluating those students so that we know what they need and how to remediate them if they need to be remediated to get them to be successful.
I think part of the problem in our school districts as a current educator is the fact that we seem to accentuate all the positives and not really directly handle the problems at hand. We just celebrate over and over and over again, but we don't really directly address these issues. And I understand where you're coming from. You're talking about the last in the country for student success. I think what we need to do is figure out what's working, and we need to multiply that amongst our school district. We need to use a best practices model. I think that would be one of the better things that we can utilize. I know that the group Nevada Succeeds has been entertaining this thought for quite a while. I think that we need to spend more responsibly. I think we need the public to build their trust, not just in our board, but in our district, and truly make this district transparent. As it is right now, we don't have an itemized line budget to where you can see where every single cent is going. I think if we build the trust of the public, we will gain their involvement in everyday education. I see a lot of parents feel like their voices fall on deaf ears, and we need to address that too. We need to give them more of a pipeline for communication in regard to making these procedures and policies for our district in order to promote student success. And I really thank you for your question. That's a wonderful question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krauss. Now we're moving now to Mr. Broadway, please.
Hi, thank you guys for coming. My question is to Mr. Krauss. You kind of hit on it on your last answer there, but why do you believe the funds for schools are misappropriated? Can you give me some examples, and can you give me some solutions if you're elected?
Okay, well, all right, let's break those down. So the first one was, why do you think that it's misappropriated? CCSD was created in 1956 because we had such a lower population. Back then, our population in Southern Nevada was 100,000 people with only 20,000 students. So back then, it made sense to have one school district as opposed to 14 separate school districts. So they made one school district, and they didn't essentially update much other than that. And it grew too heavy to where now we have 2.2 million people in Las Vegas and 318,000 students as of next year. So I think what has happened is we've had varying levels of cronyism, friends hiring friends who aren't necessarily qualified for jobs down at central office or even jobs at schools. And essentially, at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, we're here for student safety and student success. And that seems to be taking a back seat to people focusing on furthering their careers. So what I would do is try my best to shrink the administrative budget to appropriate our funds more properly into the classroom. And every single job in our district, we need to break them down. How is this good for kids, and what is the cost?
Thank you very much, Mr. Krauss. Now moving to Mr. Hughes, please.
Do I got time?
Yes, you got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
34 minutes.
Real quick then. You hear about it on the news all the time, about gun-free zones, about the crazies going in and killing people in gun-free zones, okay? I call them victim creation zones because that's what you're doing when you take guns away. Now, I'm not talking about kids walking around with guns, but other states have put in, changed their laws to allow teachers to carry guns. Would you be for or against it?
I would be against it. because there's a lot of individuals who are barely even certified to teach kids. So now putting a firearm in their hand, I just think that it could spell for a disaster, it could severely compound the situation.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I meant. was
okay,
If they had CCW.
Put your mic, please, so we can get that, please.
I was commenting more along the lines of someone who is trained, certified by an NRA instructor, and is able to, because what we're looking at right now is, do you want to go hire more armed security guards and drag the cost up onto the taxpayers, or would you just rather arm the teachers?
I don't think it's feasible. I think in a perfect world, we would have all armed security at all schools all the time, so I would have to say no, because we have a lot of people out of the 18,000 teachers that probably wouldn't be willing to get that kind of certification.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cross. Did you want Trustee Edwards to respond? Mr. Hughes,
Trustee
did you want?
Edwards is going to respond.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead. There you go.
I think there's some safety issues that are very serious when you do that, but I will tell you that right now, it is a principal's right to decide that. So we actually can have teachers armed in our schools today. And that's by law. So we have that ability. They would have to be very, very well trained, because the people who are at risk are our children. And under critical incidents where gunfire is going off, if you look at what happened downtown at the federal building, it was 300 shots before they got the guy. And that's a lot of shots where children are. So you worry about safety of the children.
Thank you very much, Trustee Edwards. We're getting ready to wrap that up, unless a panelist just has a really, really burning question they need to address. We're going to get ready to wrap it up, so we have a couple minutes then. Mr. Broadway, please.
In regards to what you just said, a bunch of people at the federal building that are shooting, you realize all those people walking into the federal building were not allowed to carry their weapon. They're all getting de-armed, they're going to security, right? So you have a bunch of people standing in another free zone, victim-free zone, and if you know, maybe there needs to be a set level, but you're educating, licensing, approving, background checking people, and they can be in this restaurant, you could be talking to one of them right now, and what's the difference of this or a teacher who is at the school who has all of this licensing? I agree, we don't want 18,000 teachers carrying it, but if there was a select few of those, what's the problem?
And so what I'm saying is right now, the principal can do that. And I don't have an objection to that.
Okay, thank you,
I think if it was a select few where they were trained to the nth degree in regard to these kind of scenarios and situations, yes, if it was a select few, but not all teachers.
Okay, thank you. That concludes this section of our panelists and our candidates. We do need to kind of finalize.
Just quick. Are you for school uniforms or not?
Use the microphone.
Yes, use the microphone.
Sorry.
Turn it on, turn it on.
Okay.
Are you for school uniforms or against school uniforms?
I'm against school uniforms, and the reason why I say that is because I've taught in schools that have school uniforms, I've taught in schools that don't have school uniforms. I've seen absolutely no correlation in regard to student performance. I'm for more parent involvement. I'm for, various things that will help students succeed, various things that will help students excel. Now, if it's a high school issue where it's a safety issue, such as gangs and stuff like that, I would be for it. But at an elementary level, I'm against it completely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krauss. Trustee, you want to respond real quick?
Very quickly, I'll simply say I am for uniforms for those communities that choose to have them,
Thank you
which
very
is what
much.
we currently do in the school district.
Thank you. And we have one more quickie, and then we're going to shut this down very much. Very quick.
Regarding gifted and talented.
Whoa. Wait, till we get the mic to give your name, please. Give your name.
Ron.
Okay.
Gifted and talented education. The admission test to this program is currently given to every student only if they are from low-income parents. those who have mid or upper income parents will only get the test if they request it or the parent or teacher requests it. Isn't this another example of, I know it comes from the Title I funds, but isn't this another example that you're giving more money and attention to students from low-income parents? And would you work on equity there?
We have a disproportionality issue in the district that needs to be addressed. And what I mean by that is that we have fewer low-income students being referred to our gifted programs, but they're not, there's the same number of gifted children who are low income. And so we're doing that not to be unfair to anybody, but to actually see where it is that we're missing children who should be in gifted programs, and we're doing them a disservice. And so that is why we do that.
Thank you, Trustee Edwards. Mr. Krauss, final comment, please.
I'm absolutely for it if it promotes student success. I think that regardless of their socioeconomic background, it's not the child's fault. If they're a gifted student, they're a gifted student, regardless of where they're from. I think we need to appropriate our funds more correctly in order to facilitate this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krauss, and thank you, Trustee Edwards. This completes our panelists and our candidates for Trustee Clark County School District F. So big round of applause.